South Africans on Sunday morning woke up to the news that Iran had been bombed by the US while we had been sleeping. Now, a few of you have asked me to cover this, and I am gonna give it my best shot. So, are we going into World War III? Well, let's think about something. So, we have something that is a social experiment, which is called the doomsday clock. And every time there is global unrest, the doomsday clock moves closer to midnight. And the doomsday clock is currently sitting the closest to midnight that we have ever been, which is 98 seconds. And another thing that we're going to look at quickly is history, because there's a very famous saying that says history repeats itself. So 100 years ago, in 1918, we had the Spanish influenza, and that caused a lot of people to unfortunately lose their lives. It was very, very, very lethal. It was it affected younger people. For some reason, it was killing people off in their 30s. The older generations seemed to be fine, and the younger generations seemed to be able to fight it off. But it was essentially robbing whole countries of their youth. And often when there is a global event, a catastrophe that prevents humans from going about their business, that prevents the economy from functioning, it usually creates power vacuums. And the same thing occurred with COVID, is that there were a couple of power vacuums that were created, and also all the countries in the world were busy focusing on building their economies, and they were distracted. And when people are distracted, that's when other people act. And we know that Russia invaded Ukraine in just after COVID. And that was perhaps where this all stems from, because global unrest has been at a high ever since. And we know when people are distracted, other people push their agendas. And it's no news that China has been eyeing Taiwan, and that North Korea has been building rockets that can reach America. So we know all of this is occurring in the background. Now, we got to talk about Trump and Netanyahu for a second. So Trump is the president of the US, and Netanyahu is the prime minister of Israel. And they are old buddies. They go way back, and they are very similar leaders. They're both populist, they're both right-wing. And we know that Trump was already helping Netanyahu out in his first term when he moved the embassy in Jerusalem. So we know that Trump is very pro-Netanyahu, and they're buddies. And there's a reason why Americans don't have free healthcare. And the reason that they don't have free healthcare is because all of their money goes into military spending. And America has the greatest military in the world, and they showed this by dropping that bomb that only they had that could destroy that nuclear site at Faroe. So we know that America has the greatest military in the world. Now, will Iran retaliate? Well, it depends how it retaliates, if this will spread into a wider conflict and if other parties get involved. Because at the moment now, Iran doesn't have missiles that can reach the US. It can only attack US military bases that are present in the Middle East. And Israel has destroyed a lot of Iran's weapons and its missiles. And another threat that Iran faces is perhaps an inside threat, because with the rule of the supreme leader hasn't been very popular. There's a bunch of key military figures that have been taken out by Israel. So the command is disrupted. And also the Iranian people are frustrated because they've been living under harsh sanctions for years and years and years because of Iran's nuclear program. And now their nuclear program is just poof, it's gone. I mean, we don't know how much they managed to save. They were seen transporting stuff out of Fordow before the strikes came. So we don't know how much was actually saved. Now, the Iranian people at the moment are united because they have a common enemy. But when this conflict stops, then I think that there's going to be some unrest in Iran because, you know, they have been living under very strict conditions. Now, we also have to think about oil. Oil is a very important factor here. So Iran exports 80% of its oil to China. And it has become very good at it. It's got specific routes that it takes. It is very efficient. Now, what Iran can do is that, and what it's threatened to do is that it can mine, it can bomb that bay in the Middle East. I think it's called the Bay of Hamas, I think it's called. And what they do is that most of the world's oil passes through that bay from other countries, such as Saudi Arabia, from the UAE, all those other countries. They have to take their oil for export through that bay, and Iran's threatened to mine that bay. And if Iran does do that, then oil is going to become very expensive. And it's going to become very expensive for everyone. Luckily, we don't get our oil from Iran, but we only make about 40% of our own oil in South Africa. The rest we import. And this is concerning because we need oil to run our homes, to put petrol in our car, to do a lot of that stuff. And stuff's just going to get more expensive. If we all know that if petrol gets more expensive, then groceries get more expensive and food gets more expensive. So there would be global, and it wouldn't just be our economy, it would be all economies throughout the world. So if Iran had to mine that bay, I do think that other countries will get involved. And we also have to think about the other silent countries. I mean, when we were in World War II, while everyone was focusing on Germany, Japan went and did Pearl Harbor and took the Americans by surprise. So right now, everyone is looking at Iran. But I think that we should also be focusing on North Korea. We should be focusing on Taiwan and China. And we should also be looking at other countries in the world that perhaps have agendas that perhaps aren't so well documented. Because like I said, whenever there's that power vacuum, then people try and fill it. Now, I can only hope that diplomatic relations will prevail. And as South Africans, we just want to carry on with our lives. We just want to spend time with our families. We want to contribute to society. We want to go to work. We just want to be citizens. And we don't need the stress of another global conflict that our great-grandparents went through. Now, I can only hope that diplomacy prevails. But I do think that Iran will retaliate. It needs to save face in some way. So there will be some retaliation. Let's just hope that it is nothing too extreme. If you like this video, let me know. Leave me a like and a follow.